In this video, we're going to talk about how to create driveway cross sections using the 2-point method with the name boundary tool dealing with cross section sheets. Now, you can also use this for doing culvert sheets, so kind of keep that in mind. The first thing that you need to do, of course, whenever you're creating cross section sheets, is to start off with a clean 2D file and then go ahead and reference in everything that you need for whenever you're cutting your cross sections. And you see that we've already done this with this file. If we go to our references, you'll see that we have all of our files that we need referenced in. The next thing that I'm going to do is zoom into my area, and I'm going to look at my entrances that I have. And you'll notice here that I have an entrance right here that I'm constructing. I have an entrance right here, I have an entrance right here, and so forth as you go down the alignment. So this is where you'd go in here first, go perpendicular off of that alignment, and simply just construct a line out there. This will make it easier whenever you actually use the name boundary tool for the 2-point method to create your driveway cross sections. So I've done that on this one, I did that on this one, and so forth as you go down the alignment. So once you have that completed, now we can come in here and start using our name boundary tool for the cross sections. I'm going to go ahead and hold my right mouse button down in a blank area, go to the name boundary, and go to cross section sheets. First thing that we will look at, just as a review, is normally whenever we cut cross sections, it can be a 5 scale or 10 scale or 20, depending on how you're cutting cross sections. Probably normally it's going to be a 10 scale sheet, and that's what we'll use for this example. But I want you to notice is the left and right offset. So if you're creating cross section using the 2-point method, you don't want to go past this left and right offset. If you total those up, that's a 280 foot. So you don't want to go longer than 280 foot from point A to point B whenever you're cutting your driveway cross sections, because if you go any farther than that, then the cross section is going to go past and go over into your border title block information. So you want it shorter than that. And that's probably what you're going to get most of the time anyway. But I just want to make you aware of that. So the method that we will need to do, though, I'm going to zoom into my area for the cross sections that I'm wanting to cut. We want to go ahead and select this option that says Civil Cross Section 2 points. My drawing seed, it's already set to 10 scale. And the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is actually select the alignment. That way it puts the station of where that entrance is at. So I will select the alignment that I'm going off of. And then you'll see down below here, it's going to say enter first point. So I'll snap to this point right here since I have this line already constructed. I'll snap to that point. I'll snap to this point. Before I do that, I'm going to leave this unchecked that says create drawing. That way I can create my drawing and sheet models after I have all these created. So I will go ahead and select that point as my second point. And then of course you have to come out here and left click to accept it. And then you should see that white line gets created. And if I hit F6 just to open up my 3D view here, you will notice that we have that cross section created using the 2-point method. So let me go ahead and go back to view number 1. I will go ahead and hold my right mouse button down, get to my culvert section sheet again, change that to 2 points. And since I got out of the dialog box, what I'm going to do is actually change my group here, because if I get out of the dialog box and come back into it, it's going to try to create another group for it. But I want to put these all underneath the same group inside of the name boundary manager. So before I go through there and create my remaining cross sections, I'm going to change my group from new, and since I already have one created from the previous one that I just created, I'm going to go ahead and select that. That way it puts all of my cross sections all underneath the same group. Leave this unchecked right here, and then I will go ahead and do the same thing. I will left click on the alignment, and I will go to my next cross section, which is this right here for this entrance. snap to the first point, second point, left click to accept it, and it's created. And then I will go down to my next one, which is right here, and do the same thing. I have to select the alignment, first point, second point, and then one more left click to accept it, as you can see right here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video because I'm going to go down through my alignment. I'm going to go ahead and create all my driveway cross sections for this alignment. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video at this time. Now that I have all of my driveway cross sections created, and you can tell that by, let me go to the 3D window here, you'll notice that I have some on the upper part of the alignment and down here on the lower side also. So I have all my cross sections created. So once I have that done, I can go ahead and close out of the name boundary tool for that. And then I will go ahead and click on F4 to clear everything out. So I have my cross sections created. Now I can go to the name boundary manager and kind of review those. So in view number 1, make sure that's active, hold my right mouse button down, and I will go to the name boundary manager. In here you will notice that we have all of our cross sections created for our driveways. Now if we're ready to produce those into drawing models and sheet models, first thing that we need to do is select this right here, and then I will go ahead and right click over the group. Because I put those all underneath the same group, I'll just right click over it and do the create cross section drawing. In here, identical to creating normal cross sections, I'll pretty much leave everything as is except for my annotation group. And for my annotation group, let's go ahead and change that to cross section with major grid. Click on OK. And now what it's going to do is go through there and look at all of those driveway cross sections that you created, and it's going to put those and create those into drawing and sheet models. And then once it's finished, you'll see that we have my sheet model created. If I go back to my views right here, I can go back to this one right here, and you see that you have all of your driveway cross sections inside of here. Once that's done, now what you can do is come in here and clean this up, because if you notice right here, you'll see that my cross sections, they're going to line up really close right here, like right there, and possibly right here. So this is where you need to come in here and probably do some cleanup work versus like normal cross sections where it goes all the way across from the edge of the border here to this edge right here. Since we're creating smaller cross sections, this is where you need to come in here and clean this up. So you have to move this one and possibly move this one and so forth. To do that, that's pretty simple. You go up to your references and you'll see all of these are referenced in because they're referenced back to the drawing model. And you'll see that whenever we select one of these, I'll just go ahead and select highlight, change my mode up here. That way I know which one that I'm grabbing. This is where you can come in here and kind of move these around to your liking. So let's go down through here and maybe move this one to a different location. So simply just right click over it, do a move, then you can left click on it and basically kind of move these to where you want them to be. Of course, you can use AccuDraw if you want those to all be lined up and so forth. You can use your AccuDraw tools to do that. That's perfectly fine. But I'm just kind of showing you that you can move these around to the spot that you want. Let me go ahead and move this one here a little bit. I'll move this one right here. So hopefully you get the idea that you can kind of maneuver these around to your liking as needed. So you'll notice here for this example here that I've created, you'll notice that one of these just got put into a separate sheet. And that was just because it basically ran out of room from the previous sheet. It didn't have enough room to put it in there. But if you think it does have enough room to put in there, you can manually put that in to this sheet right here. An example of that would be number 1 is if you're wanting to condense those maybe into one, or let's say you had 5 sheets that it got created. This is where you can come through here and kind of condense those down, maybe into just 2 sheets or possibly just 1 sheet, like what we have right here. Maybe we can get that one to fit inside of there, which we'll do here in a second. Or another instance is, let's say you missed a cross section or a driveway section whenever you're cutting your cross sections. This is where we can add one to it. Or maybe a new entrance got created after you've already created your cross sections and you need to put that one in there. Just some different methodology for that. This is where you can go in here and kind of manipulate these sheets, possibly to your liking, to condense those or add as needed. So let's look here, and on this one right here, we'll see that it's at station 10 plus 36. So what I'm going to do is go back into this one right here, this sheet model, and what I'm going to do is actually reference in the drawing model for 1036, because that's the actual cross-section drawing model of where that stuff is actually located at. So I'll go to my references, and what I'm going to do is do a tools attach. I'm going to select the file that I'm in, which is this right here. I'll add it, click on OK, and you'll see right here that it did add that. There's some stuff that we're going to have to change because right now it's looking at the default model and some other stuff. We need to come in here and change those properties for it. So what we need to do is come over to the one that you just referenced in, which is this one, and I'm going to right click over it and go down to settings. In here, the model that we're going to reference in is 10 plus 36. We're going to go ahead and get that drawing model, not the sheet, but the drawing model for it. So that would be this one right here. That's the drawing model. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come in here and change our nesting, because it is referenced in. It does have a nesting depth. So I will select that and do live nesting. And I'm just going to change that to 2 for this example. And I think that's the only 2 things that we need to change. If we need to change something else, we will, but I think that's the only 2 things that we need to do for this example. So go ahead and click on OK. And let me go ahead and do a fit view. We see everything. And you'll notice that it's located right here. Doesn't look like quite the scale is correct, so we may have to change that. And one way I can check that is if I go back to one of my original ones that got created for this sheet, you'll see that there is a scale applied to it, because that's just the way it cuts those sheets. So what I can do is come in here and kind of look at this and see how these are set up and kind of mimic these settings. So this one here is to 1 to 20, has a nesting depth of 99, so we could change that also. So let's go back into the one that we just had right here, and I'll go down to settings, and just to make everything consistent, I'll do 99 there, and then my scale is 1 to 120. Click on OK to that, and now I will go ahead and do a fit view. And now you'll see that that cross section is right there. So now I can just need to come in here, go back to my references, and move that to the correct spot. And then I can move it inside of there, and now it's finished. Go ahead and close that down, just like what I did right there. So I actually have this cross section incorporated in this sheet now. And I really don't need, since it's incorporated in that sheet now, I don't really need this sheet anymore. So what I can do is come up here, and I'll just go back to the, instead of the default, I'll do the multi-model view. Go back to my models here, and that would be this sheet, not the drawing model. We want to keep it, of course, but the sheet we don't need anymore because we have this drawing model incorporated with this sheet now. So this is where I can come in here and right click over it, do a delete, say yes to that. I'll check this in, and now I have all of these drawing models, which are the driveway cross sections. I have those incorporated inside of this sheet model right here, as you can see right there. So a few different ways you can manipulate this to possibly condense those, move these around as needed. Another example would be, so if I go to the multi-model view, and let's say a new entrance got added, or whenever I was cutting my cross sections, I maybe missed one. I think I missed this one right here that's on a skew from this alignment. Let's say we need to add that. I will go ahead and make this view number 1 active. I'll hit F6. I'll go ahead and hold my right mouse button down and do the same process as before. Go to the 2 points. Make sure the group is set to the same group as before. I don't want to create a drawing right now. I will select the alignment. I'm going to go from point A to point B. Left click to accept it. And now we have that created. I can go ahead and close that down. Hit F4. This time here, since I have it there, I'll just hold my right mouse button down again. Go to the name boundary manager. And we should see it inside of here. Which it looks like it is this one, right? Yep. I did the show right here. That way I can tell which one that it's using because it's cutting those cross sections. So if I undo the show, you'll see that it basically turns that off. So I'm going to turn that back on. That's the one that I want. So instead of going over the group this time, since I want to cut just this one cross section, make sure this is turned on. I'm going to go ahead and right click over this cross section right here and do the create cross section drawing. All right, on this one here, no different than before. We're going to go ahead and change my annotation group to match what I did before, which is the major grids. But what I'm going to do this time, that way it just saves me a step, is instead of coming out here and creating a sheet model for it, because I'm going to incorporate that onto the other sheet model that I just created, instead of creating a sheet model for it, I'm just going to create the drawing model for it. Because I know I can place that drawing model cross-section right into the previous sheet model that got created. I have room to put it there. So for this example, I'm going to turn this little option right here off. And it won't create the actual sheet model. So I will go ahead and click on OK to that. And now you see that it created that one cross-section at that particular station. So this is where we could come in here. I will close this down. I'll go back to this sheet model right here. And I'll go ahead and do the same steps that I did whenever I imported this one right here. So I'll go to my references. I'll do tools, attach. It's incorporated in this file. So I will go and click on add to that. Click on OK. You'll see that it added it right here. Of course, we need to change some properties for it. That way it grabs the proper drawing model for it. So I will go ahead and right click over it, go down to settings, the model. That would be this one right here, 56 plus 06.05. Nesting depth, they change that to live nesting of 99 just to be consistent with the other ones. And then of course my reference scale, 1 to 120. I can go ahead and click on OK to that. And let's just see where it's at, which is right here. You can see it right there. Now I just come in here, right click over it, do a move, select it, go back into the sheet model and go ahead and drop it off to wherever you want to place it at. So that's how you create driveway cross sections in ORD and getting those incorporated into possibly a single sheet model or multiple sheet models, depending on how many that you got. But also you can apply this to culvert sheets also. So if you have culverts, going in your project and you want to do multiple culvert sheets or maybe sign sections, that'd be another example. You could use this video to incorporate that and place those drawing models inside of here as needed and position those to the correct spot that you want for doing driveway cross sections or culvert sheets or sign sections.